ALSD. We're here with Laura Zimbrick, Corporate Partnerships and Premium Seating Manager here at the Fox Theater in Atlanta. We're going to do a little member highlight with Laura today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
For those in the community that might not know who you are, Laura, can you provide us with your career path to this point, just some of the major highlights along the way?
Sure. So I went to school at Georgia State University, just down the street from here. I majored in Spanish and psychology. I was always really interested in people's cultures and their behaviors, and as it turns out, it's a perfect segue into sales and service. I didn't know it at the time, but after school, I had probably 100 odd jobs, bartending, of course. I was a wedding planner. I used to organize outdoor festivals. I was a gallery curator. And then finally, I came to rest here at the Fox and have had a really grounding and challenging and fulfilling experience here. I've been here about 5 years, and they have been so great to allow me to create my own path here. That didn't exist. This position didn't exist before I took it on. So it's been a really exciting challenge to figure out how to best fulfill the needs of our sponsors, and now how to sell and market our premium club.
So I was interested to hear that you have an academic background in psychology, and clearly that is a component of sales. How does that serve you well today? Do you have any specific lessons learned that transfer over?
I always thought that sales was going to be this big bad monster. I was so scared of it, and now that I'm getting into it and I'm teaching myself how to do this, and as it turns out, the skill set is not really that different from tending bar. It's getting to know people, finding out what their needs are, and then giving them what they need, rather than trying to sell them something that is some basic blanket answer. That's not what people are looking for. That's not what makes a good salesperson. It's listening to what their needs are and delivering.
And before we get too far down the path of your specific day-to-day here at the Fox Theater, what are some of your interests outside of the theater? What keeps you busy?
Well, I'm a homebody, really. I love to get home at 5:30 and put the PJs on and hang. I'll be honest about that, but I do love yoga. I love trying out new recipes with my husband. I love to travel to new places and to some old favorites, and I love to read.
Favorite yoga pose?
Child's pose, I'll be honest.
Warrior 5.
No.
That's child's pose.
Is that what it is?
I call child's pose, or my teacher.
Warrior 5, is that what it's called?
Calls child's pose Warrior 5.
All right, well then that's officially my favorite.
She doesn't want
The
you to
rest of
feel, she doesn't want your ego to stop you from going to child's pose if that's what your practice needs, so she calls it Warrior 5.
I like that. I like it a lot, yeah.
Do you have a favorite active pose?
I really like arm balances a lot. I love the challenge that I get every day. I try to work a little bit closer to it, and the best part about yoga that I've taken into my daily life is that it's okay if what you did yesterday you're not quite able to do today. Find out where you are, be good at where you are, and love where you are, and then tomorrow's a totally different day. So
it's always meant to be a practice, right? You'll never be perfect.
Yeah.
Just aim for that improvement in all aspects. That's great. What about recipes? What type of food do you and your husband like to cook, like to challenge yourself with?
It started out with, I think we had salmon every day for like a year, but once we started to get a little more comfortable in the kitchen, we love making pizzas. We love tuna, anything on the grill. We change it up every day. The crock pot's our best friend, it's
Set it and forget it.
Yes, exactly.
And you mentioned travel. What are some of your favorite destinations, and what about those destinations make it a memorable experience?
Well, I will say that my all-time favorite is Spain. I went there just after school and took a backpack and not quite enough money, but I went all the way around the country and just ate my way through every city. I didn't have an itinerary. I didn't care where I was going next. It was just wherever the train took me. So that by far is my favorite. The culture, the people, the food. The food is amazing there. So that's number one.
What type of cuisine? What specific item do you remember the most?
In Barcelona, it was the pinchos, these little sandwiches, breakfast sandwiches that they made. And then in San Sebastian, there was this little bar that wouldn't open until 4 o'clock, and they made everything for the day. Before 4 o'clock, they opened up, they had everything out on the bar. It was all these little tapas plates. And you picked whatever you want. It was kind of an honor system. You just checked off what you had, and then you pay at the end, and when it's gone, it's gone. They don't restock for the evening, but it was the best food. It's some of the things I've never tried before, and may or may not try again, who knows, but
sure.
It was perfect.
Yeah, very European model they have there.
Yes, absolutely.
Was there a language barrier for you, or do you speak the language?
I spoke the language at the time. I spoke it quite well. The only time that there was a language barrier was when I met some German people at the Alhambra, I think. And so we ended up speaking Spanish because we each knew that language better than the other.
Sure.
So that worked out really well. But yeah, there were no problems there.
So pivoting back to the performing arts center segment of the industry that we're a part of, what first drew you to performing arts centers in general?
I have been coming to the theater since I was a kid. My parents had the Les Miserables soundtrack on cassette. I played it so much I think I broke the tape. We were big fans growing up. I danced a little bit when I was a kid, and I was in the community theater. I was the Cowardly Lion for The Wizard of Oz. And I remember the first time I came to the Fox. It was for 42nd Street. My mom and I had a mom-daughter date, and I remember where we sat. I remember the way the stars looked in the sky. I remember everything about that experience. It really set home for me where I was meant to be, or where I was meant to become my greater self, I guess. And I really loved it. And it reminds me every time I see an artist on stage why I love this place so much, because you can feel this energy that reverberates between the artist and the audience. It's something about them looking out into this crowd, a very intimate setting with this beautiful architecture, and they are loving every minute of it, and the audience can feel that. So the audience is just bouncing back that energy, and it just becomes such a personal experience. This place is really special.
Some of your corporate clients, do they have that generational connection that you have in your personal life, where it's they were here as a kid, and now they bring their children, they bring their grandchildren, they're passing down that legacy? Are there a lot of stories like that in this facility?
Every day. Every day we hear stories. I had my prom here, I got married here, I had my first kiss here. Everybody's got a story about the Fox. Even transplants, we love to hear their stories. You know, I started coming here 5 or 10 years ago. My first show was Leonard Skinner, or whatever it was. But a lot of people on a daily basis come to us and say, I was a part of the Save the Fox campaign in the 70s. I used to send my pennies in, you know. It's a really special thing. But I will say that us being a transplant city, not everybody has been to the Fox. So we've taken on that initiative to get more people involved, more younger audiences involved. So that's a part of our community engagement and reaching out to our local communities and getting the kids to love the Fox just like we do.
So for those of our members who aren't familiar with some of the historical periods of this building, can you provide a little bit more detail on what Save the Fox is, and that whole period, and what the situation was, and how we avoided it?
Yeah, so I know just the highlights, enough to be dangerous. I don't want to give you any incorrect information, but we have had a storied past. So we opened on Christmas Day in 1929, and just a couple of years later, we were in bankruptcy already because of the Great Depression and so many things throughout the 40s and the 50s and the 60s about, you know, suburban exploration and TVs in people's homes and that kind of thing. So by the time in the mid-70s, when the theater had fallen into disrepair, and it was not being used in the way that it had originally been imagined. There was an opportunity, I guess you could call it, for AT&T or Bell South at the time to take the property and use it for their parking lot because their headquarters was nearby, so just next door actually. And the community was in an uproar about it. They were not happy and not having it. So it was one of the first major grassroots efforts to save the community theater and this great historic building. So it really was people sending in their pennies and writing notes on their phone bills, and there were parades and there were celebrity endorsements. It was a really beautiful time for the Fox, of course, but for the city of Atlanta to band together around something. We had just lost Union Station downtown in what's now underground Atlanta. It's nothing, obviously nothing like it used to be. It was a beautiful building, and people got scared. So they came together and they saved us. Ever since then, that was a little more than 40 years ago, we have operated in the black, and our community has continued to support us.
That's a fantastic story, Laura.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So the ALSD is obviously sports and entertainment, stadiums, ballparks, arenas, as well as this growing segment of performing arts centers with all the corporate hospitality being programmed into buildings such as this one. What can we learn from one another? Are we really that different? Is it all just corporate hospitality, selling and serving that particular kind of customer? What can sports learn from performing arts centers? What can performing arts centers learn from sports?
As it turns out, I don't think we're all that different. Now, granted, sports have cornered the corporate entertainment segment for decades now, but we're coming. I will say that I was at an ALSD conference a couple of years ago in San Francisco, and Lawrence Baer was there. He was one of the keynote speakers, and he said something that really struck a chord with me. He said that we're not competing with each other, with other venues, with other forms of entertainment. We're competing with people's free time. We're competing with their couches. And that's something that all of us can learn from each other, is that we are the great protectors of live entertainment. We need to remember that there's a reason that people spend really good money to come out off of their couches, out of their houses, and into our seats. We need to protect that, and we need to allow it to thrive. So that's one of those things that we need to keep track of each other. What's going on in the industry? What are people doing? What do people want? The through line, I think, for all these venues is customer service, obviously, and safety is another big thing, and we need to continue to keep that dialogue open between all the venues.
What are some of the events, experiences that are getting the performing arts center audience off of that couch and into the Fox Theater?
We get some big names here, so that works very well for us. We've had Prince, we've got Don Henley, we've had Shawn Mendes, Paul Simon, we've got Hamilton coming up. We have a reason. We have really great things that people want to see. They want to be a part of it. People want experiences now. So that's the great thing about what we do, is that we can provide that for people. But the other great thing about the Fox, specifically about performing arts, is that every day is a little bit different. We've had every demographic of Atlanta. Between a Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and Wednesday night, it could change. And so it's the challenge, it's the fun part of our job to find out what those expectations are, meet them, and then blow them out of the water.
So, Laura, one of the reasons why we are here is to learn about a very cool renovation project here at the Fox Theater. And I thought a good place to start that conversation in closing up our conversation here this morning would be to say you're not just designing or redesigning space here in the theater, you're really redesigning and introducing a brand new guest experience. You just got finished speaking to the importance of experiences and new experiences. Can you take us through what the guest journey will be after the renovation is complete?
Sure. So one of the biggest things for us that we weren't able to provide previously was taking ownership of the entire guest experience. Not so much from the time they scan their ticket until the time they walk through the doors at the end, and not even so much driveway to driveway. It's awareness to reminiscence at this point. So when a guest finds out about a show, if they're a member of the club, they call up their dedicated ticket concierge. They secure their tickets to the performance, and then they reserve access to the Marquee Club. Fast forward to the day of the show, about 90 minutes before the show starts, they park in their designated space, they walk into their private entry where they're greeted by name, and then they walk into this golden oasis of absolute grandeur. It is the most beautiful part of the theater, not detracting from it, of course, but really paying homage to it. We'll have a beautiful spread of hors d'oeuvres, both past and displayed. We'll have 5 premium bars on 3 different levels. There's the main floor, the mezzanine level that looks onto the main floor, and then we'll have the rooftop terrace as well. The rooftop terrace, which we can talk about in a bit, is actually split into 3 separate areas as well. There's fully enclosed, fully air-conditioned, fully exterior, and then a little mix of both. We want to make sure that people get the best of the Atlanta weather at any given moment. So they have 90 minutes to enjoy their time there. They can pre-order a drink for intermission that'll be waiting for them when they get back. They have private restrooms. And then obviously if they decide to linger because the space really is that beautiful, we'll have show feed available on the plasmas or the football game if it's warranted. And then afterward we'll have live entertainment from time to time, depending on the day of the week type show.
Very good. Well, Laura, thanks so much for sharing a little bit more about yourself and a little bit more about the renovation upcoming. Please stay tuned for part 2 of our conversation, where we're going to dive a little bit more into the details of the Marquee Club.